funeral service for our minister of Mosque number 7, Minister, excuse me, we attended the funeral for our minister, Minister Abdul Hafiz Muhammad, and it had to happen virtually, but we were there in spirit, and also 5 other people were funeralized with the janaz, and we all stood in prayer for the minister for the many, many things that he did, but we have lost many here in Harlem. So we're asking you, if you were on the call, if you're on the prayer meeting with us, please reach out to all of your friends, your family, your constituents, because we know that when 2 or more stand together in prayer, it is done. So I am going to ask Reverend Rhonda to start, as we start in our prayer, to give tribute to our ancestors, to pour libation for our ancestors and their spirits, that they be well and that they watch over us and guide us. Reverend Rhonda.
Fumanasi Dadaruba, Fumanasi Dadaruba, Fumanasi Dadaruba, She Daddy Lapumi. It was good for my ancestors. It was good for our ancestors. It was good for our ancestors, and it's good enough for me. Give me that old time religion. Omi tutu, oni tutu, ona tutu, ile tutu, tutu Leroy, tutu Oludamare, Ajuba, Agbogbo, Moshelede. May the ancestors, may we pay homage to them. May we pay homage to Oludamare, God. May we pay homage to all those who have gone before us in the ancestral realm, those from the Middle Passage, those who were in Africa, all across Africa before we came to this continent, those who worked from sun up to sundown, those who lost their lives fighting and striving to live and save our families, those who fought in the civil rights movement, those who are still on the front lines every day working for our salvation and our freedom. We remember all of those ancestors. We remember all of those of good character, all of those who shed their blood for us to be able to live and walk and talk and be here today. We remember all of those inventors and lawyers and doctors and nurses and those midwives and those railroad workers and those people who picked cotton, who built this country. We remember them today. Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. We remember those who have lost their lives, those collective heroes and sheroes. Marcus Garvey, Ashe. Malcolm X, Ashe. Martin Luther King, Ashe. Sojourner Truth, Ashe. Harriet Tubman, Ashe. Ossie Davis, Ashe. Ruby Dee, Ashe. We remember all of those that we know and those that we don't know. I remember my father, Clarence Green, Ashe. Thank him for the goodness and the love and the light that he gave to me and the unconditional agape love. We remember today all of those children whose names we don't know, but who died from violence or who died from unnatural conditions. We thank you and we remember you. We remember the people in Harlem today who are dying by the droves and who have not been able to be funeralized in a way that we know. So we remember them today. We remember Minister Abdul Hafiz Muhammad, Ashe. We remember Donald Smith, master musician. We remember Brother Adewome. We remember Mr. Samuel Hargreaves from Paris Blues. We remember 9 members of Mount Nemo Baptist Church, Ashe. We remember Gladys Williams, hey, Ashe. We remember who was a nurse and who served our country. We remember Onaje Ali Gums today. We remember all of you who have walked this walk and who will continue to live in our hearts and minds We send you love and light going into the next realm. We will always call out your names forever and ever and ever. We thank you. Walk with us. Help us to be as strong as you were, and help us to walk in good character, in good condition, even in these times. We give thanks, our peace, amen, ashe, 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 oh yeah. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. And in the we have saluted our ancestors. We've saluted personal ancestors. We've saluted global ancestors. And today on this call, we have people from all over the globe. They are here from Arizona, from Texas, from Nigeria, from Liberia, from the Canada, from South America, from the Central America. We have many, many people on this second call. We also have the blessings, and we have our founder and creator of Kwanzaa, Dr. Mayalana Karenga, is watching over us, and he will be with us next week. There's a lot that has happened with this COVID and the loss of lives, but it is bringing us closer. It is bringing us together. It is having us become more creative. Our Harlem Network news is something we've thought about for a long time, but the COVID-19 made us have to spring into action because it's very, very important and very critical that our voices be heard and that our community receive the proper information. Knowledge is power. I want to go to our Reverend Nafisa Sharreeff, who is going to pray with us. And Reverend Nafisa Sharreeff is a master dancer. She is an interfaith minister, and I will let her introduce herself and tell you about her organization. And she is going to offer prayer. This is continuing in Reverend Nafisa Sharreeff.
Thank you, Terry. We're breaking up a little bit, so I'm watching your mouth to see when you finish talking. But I first would like to address Reverend Rhonda for that extraordinary libation, and thank you so much. And to speak a little bit about myself. I am the founder and CEO of Entering the Holy of Holies, an institute of learning and healing. And I do most of my work in Harlem. We specialize in meditation and healing and spiritual tools for transformation. Every morning, every single day, Reverend Rhonda and I have this running joke. At 8 a.m., you're all welcome to join me for a free morning meditation via Instagram. And my handle is at Entering the Holy of Holies, or Facebook Live, Nafisa Sharreeff, just look me up. But it's a beautiful meditation. Every day is different. Wednesday is our Wellness Wednesday. It's devoted to prayers and meditation for all the first liners, the essential workers, and even the funeral directors and people who have lost their lives, and people who are on this side maintaining health and wellness for themselves. So please join us any day, 7 days a week. And I wanted to read a prayer. I was looking up some Native American prayers because I wanted something that was very universal for all of us, because I know, Terry, your audience is global.
Yes, absolutely.
And even on this call, we all pray differently. We don't all have the same religion. And so it's important that the one aspect of our religions that unites us is love, that we speak of that and be very mindful of our fear and our sense of competition and our sense of anger, even at the loss of how life was just a few weeks ago. So I thought I would read this beautiful prayer. It's called the Miracle Prayer. There's no author with this particular prayer, but I, again, found it amongst Native American healing prayers. I open my heart wide to receive the love of God. As I receive God's love as universal supply, all my affairs are healed. I realize and accept the healing power of the universe as love. and I allow the healing power that is love to penetrate my life. I readily accept the healing power of love in my life, and I know that as love, God is my limitless and abundant supply made manifest. I feel the outpouring of God's love in my body and mind. I feel God's love in my affairs, and I know all is well. And if everyone would just close their eyes for just a moment and bring your awareness into the middle of your chest and the center of your heart. We say the Holy of Holies of your heart, the inner sanctum of the temple, the place where you pray and meditate and commune with God. And in this space, allow your heart to be filled with the effervescence of love and light. Take a moment to acknowledge if there is fear or doubt, anger and anguish, despair, and especially grief in your heart. All emotions are important, all are pertinent, all are necessary at this time. But it is most important that we don't languish here, that we don't mourn too long, and that we embrace the moment that is given to us to give birth to new creativity, new ways of being in harmony with ourselves and unity with each other, the world, and with God. And as you move through your feelings of pain and despair, allow the love and the light that you are to radiate fully from your heart up into your throat, face, and head, out into your lungs and your chest, all into your shoulders, down your arms and into your hands. Feel your spine and your back, each organ throughout your torso. Feel your lower back, your lower abdominals, your buttocks, your hips, your legs, your knees, ankles, and feet. With the vibration of your own love, your own light, your own peace, your own joy. That as you gaze upon yourself now from the inside out, you see only light. You feel only love. And you know only peace and joy. Quiet your mind. Relax your body. Open your heart and invite God into your heart in your own way, with your own words, in your own prayer language, that the one aspect of your life that you can depend on and count on always without fail is the love and the light of the Lord.
Okay.
Take now a deep breath in through your nose. Exhale and completely refresh your body with your breath. And hold on to these feelings of peace and love and light, not just throughout this conference call, but every day. Allow love and light to lead each day. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that it is very important for those of you who have just tuned in. This is a Harlem prayer, and we are praying for all of those who have lost their lives to COVID here in Harlem, the Harlems of the world, and across the world. And we know that prayer is powerful, regardless of what is going on, especially in our communities. Prayer changes things, and when two or more stand together in prayer, we are clear and we know that it is done. We are praying for those that are in the hospitals that do not have their families with them. And we know that the percentages of those that have gone into the hospital and those that come out have not been good. So we are praying that there be a change with that. We are praying for those of us that are well, that we stay well, and that we follow all of the things and procedures to keep us well. It is extremely critical. So we ask that all of you on the call, this is a prayer. This is a prayer for life, and this is Harlem Network News. And we are here to bring the information to you, to share with you, and to be your voice and to tell our stories. I'm going to go on in the spirit of prayer this morning. We were able to partake virtually in the funeral of our minister, our fallen minister, Abdel Hafiz Muhammad. And in that janaz that was virtual, what it was said is that he is gone to be with Allah, but we are here and he lives through us. So we have to continue the great work that he did. So I am going to go to our Imam, okay, who is also the director of the African American Day Parade. So Iman Yusef Hasaan, please say hello to all of the people in Harlem and the Harlems of the world and just share with them. Thank you so much. Okay.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
As you might know, my name is Yusef Hasaan, and I'm a member of the Malcolm Shabazz Masjid, the historical Malcolm Shabazz Masjid here in Harlem for many years under the leadership now of Imam Ezekiel Mueed Pasha. And I also serve in the healthcare system as a spiritual provider, counselor, supporter of those who are sick and dying in some of the major hospitals in this city. But especially I'm here for our African American. And we'll talk about that hopefully a few minutes later in this process. But I just want to open up with a short prayer. And this prayer is very important to me. And I hope it might be meaningful for you all that's on this line and those who are not. This is about God's goodness in the past and how he protected us and guided us. And it's also about him with us today. And after this darkness, there will become light, and God will still be with us in our process of living forward. Let us pray. With God's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer, all praise belongs to God, Lord of all systems of knowledge, merciful benefactor, merciful redeemer, the sole judge on the day of judgment. We worship you only, and we turn to you begging assistance. Guide us on a straight way, the way of those whom you bestow blessings, not those who incur wrath, nor those who go astray. By the glorious morning light, and by the night when it is still, your guardian Lord has not forsaken you, nor is he displeased. And truly the hereafter will be better for you than the present. And soon will your guardian Lord give you that with which you shall be well pleased. Did he not find you an orphan? And he gave you shelter and care. And he found you wandering, and he gave you guidance. And he found you in need, and he made you independent. Therefore, treat not orphans with harshness, nor repulse beggars unheard. But the bounties of your Lord, rehearse and proclaim it. Dear God, give us that which is good in this life and that which is good in the next life. And save us, because there are nothing and no one that can help and save us excepting you. We humbly come today. First, we thank you for life. Now we ask that you bless those of us who are suffering, those who are confused, those who have died, and those of us who are living. Bless those who've struggled on the front lines of this battle to save our lives, especially the doctors and the nurses, those who clean the floors and those who cook the food and those who hold the front lines of caring for our individual families. We thank you. Bless us to be successful and give us that you have promised us for the good works we continue to try to do on this earth. Amen.
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 Amen. Amen. Thank you. For those of you who have just come on to our prayer meeting, this is Cherry Wisdom from Harlem Network News. And we have Reverend Rhonda McLean Noor here, who is a Harlem interfaith minister. We also have Reverend Nafisa Sharreeff, who is an interfaith minister. We have Dr. Michelle Alexander, who is one of our renowned Harlem doctors. And we just finished in prayer with Iman Yusef Hasaan. Okay, so I'm going to go now to Dr. Michelle. And what I would like you to do, Dr. Michelle, is just let us know about yourself, your experience a bit, as well as sharing with us where we are in the COVID-19 as it pertains to our local Harlem and the world, and what you see the progression has been. Because I think it's very important and very significant that our people that are here in Harlem and the Harlems of the world hear from our doctors, because getting the correct information that is trusted information that is very specific and skewed for our communities can definitely save life. So Dr. Michelle, thank you.
Hi, my name is Michelle Alexander. I am a MD. I've been practicing medicine for close to 40 years now. So I guess I have a great deal of experience. I'm trained in internal medicine and occupational medicine. And I just wanted to just briefly go over COVID-19. It is currently been designated in terms of the US. The US has the largest amount of deaths worldwide. And New York, as many people know, is the epicenter. Among the epicenter, Black and Brown communities have actually suffered the greatest. The latest information that has been released Friday of this year, this week, the 17th of April, says that the data is that Black people are dying at alarming rates. We have twice the number of deaths as whites, and followed closely behind that is the Hispanic or Latino community. So among the Black and Brown community, there's a very great disparity when it comes to deaths. And we know that largely this is related to how we live and how we have suffered in terms of poor health access. The Black and Brown communities had little to no access to testing. We have food deserts, meaning that our access to good and healthy food is diminished greatly. That means that as a result, nutritionally, we are bereft of some of the things that support our immune system and keep our immune system healthy. Because just like any virus, and I'm going to, I'm going to change up because it says my battery's going low and I just don't want to lose anybody. Hold a minute. So what's happened is that, and I don't know if you can see me, let me just, okay. So, uh-oh.
Yeah, keep going, sister. We see you.
Yeah, so what's happened is that because, first of all, Black and brown people, we have little to no access to good quality health care. In many instances, the fact that our nutritional status is low, we have very high rates of some of the most, what as physicians we call comorbidities, what they're calling are diseases that are associated with an increased risk of death, specifically heart disease, specifically diabetes, which of course is one of the underlying reasons why people have heart disease, because of the problem with the microvasculature as a result of the diabetes. The fact is that though, and hypertension of course leading to heart disease or atherosclerotic heart disease. So these are the reasons why we're seeing the deaths in the Black and brown communities. And we know that this is largely related to racial disparities that are experienced by those communities. We're the last to get, and one of the other things that I have to mention is that unlike many other communities, when it comes to working, most Black and brown people did not have the option of, quote, telecommuting. They had to go out and work their jobs unless, as even essential workers. So they were the last to get protection. So the grocery store workers, the hospital workers that are working in the cafeterias or doing the janitorial services, they're the last ones to get the masks, to get the protections that they needed. And then they're coming back into their communities and giving it to people within their community. So we really need to start to focus as a community on how to prevent this from happening again, and also how to make sure that we do get the services that we need now. So I think that's probably where we need to talk about solutions on how to make this safer, so that the deaths that we're experiencing don't continue to occur. Because one of my, of course, greatest fears is that this is just not the first time we're going to see COVID-19. It's going to come back again. And so we have to prepare ourselves.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Michelle. That's very informative. And Harlem Network News is really dedicated to making sure that communities outside of Harlem that are mainly people of color. But obviously, this is a world community. And this virus is impacting people all over the world. So what happens to one group happens to another group. But particularly with the people of color here in Harlem, we have been impacted for many reasons. Initially, I don't think that people of color were aware of what was actually happening. And that is where Harlem Network News comes in as media and letting people know, yes, people of color are getting it. And then finally, the major media did understand and did see. So a lot of the news that you're seeing right now is about people of color and the disparity and the differences, be it in Louisiana, you know, the percentage may be this, but the percentage of people of color that are getting it is much higher. So we have to be extremely concerned that we get the clear information, we take the clear precautions that are needed to really to keep us safe. So a lot of this is it's medical, but somehow medical becomes political, medical becomes economic, and all of those things become a trickle down to who is going to live and who is not. So
Terry,
yes.
I wanted to just say that, just to speak specifically about what you just spoke about, is that one of the things we do know is that many people, have been told to, in New York, for instance, to cover their face. And, when I'm outside, one of the things I notice within our community is that some of that information is not being transferred within our community. The fact that our community did not have access to the masks and the gloves and some of the things that we talk about in terms of social distancing. I had to go to UPS the other day, and I consistently tried to move away from people who consistently tried to come within the 6 feet distance. So, sometimes we need to spend some time educating within our community that some of the things that are being promoted this is actually a safety thing for them, not only for them, but for their families. The fact that you need to do hand washing and that you need to wear a mask. Now, I think we talked about this last week,
Yes.
that the mask is for two purposes. The first purpose is that we know that there are groups of people that are asymptomatic. In fact, we know that most people who get the virus do not die. Most of them get mild symptoms, and most of them recover without a problem. There is a subset of people that are more prone to have a problem. That subset are people that are over the age of 60, and even more importantly, over the age of 70. The numbers actually increase exponentially after the age of 70, where the risk of death really is high. The other group of people that are at risk are people that are immunocompromised or have underlying medical issues. So those conditions can be things like asthma, obstructive lung disease, chronic obstructive lung disease, that means emphysema, chronic bronchitis, people that have immune systems that are compromised either from treatment for cancer, diabetes, heart disease. These are people that are all have an increased risk for having more severe outcomes from COVID-19, and they end up more likely to be hospitalized than people that are younger or people who have no disease and are healthy. Unfortunately, within the Black community, those particular conditions are very high. The same disparities that we're seeing with COVID-19, we're seeing among Black people and brown people. They have higher incidences of these diseases, and this is one of the reasons why we do see a great amount of death. We're also seeing a great deal of deaths in nursing homes, and a lot of people are now seeing that there are a lot of the different, especially public nursing homes, where they may not have been given the same instructions about maintaining social distancing, gloves, gowns, masks, those type of things. So sometimes the infection has run rampant within those nursing homes. So there's a lot of reasons why we're seeing it. The other thing, and I just have to go back to the nutrition. Nutrition is key. One of the things that we do know is that this virus seems to be adverse to an alkaline environment, and therefore we recommend that people alkalize their blood. And I say that, as a physician, those things that have high alkalinity are more likely to be healthy for you and not healthy for the virus. It does not permit the virus to live. And if we get some chance, I can go over some of those foods and things that you can do.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Michelle, for bringing us up to speed on that. And I think that you're correct. We have to continue to let people know exactly what they need to do. I'm going to, we may have Reverend Al Taylor. Are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon. This is Harlem Network News, Terry Wisdom, for those of you who are just tuning in. And we do have Reverend Al Taylor, who is also our Assemblyman here in Harlem. And he is going to address us. Reverend Taylor, we have Reverend Rhonda McLean here for our prayer circle. And we also have Reverend Nafisa Sharreeff, who both are interfaith ministers. We have Iman Yusef Hasaan, who is the director and head of the African American Day Parade, as well as Dr. Michelle Alexander, one of our noted Harlem physicians. So Reverend Al Taylor, if perhaps you would start with a prayer, because we know prayer changes things, and then if you could go on and share with us from a political side, what exactly is happening here in Harlem with the COVID-19. And as we know, we've lost many, many people, and we don't want to lose more. So we'd love it if you could address that for us, Reverend Al Taylor. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I would certainly like to begin by saying peace and blessings on you. These are certainly difficult times, would be an understatement, but I would, and I thank you for an opportunity to open in prayer. Father God, I know that our steps and all our healing are connected to you. And Father, I just believe, and we have an open mind, that you're able to heal our hearts, the brokenness that has showed up through this virus, Father. I pray your blessings of healing on your people, Father. I just ask today that you will continue to encourage our hearts in the midst of what is unimaginable, unfathomable. And we know that healing is possible. And Father, I pray for strength and courage and wisdom and boldness. And I certainly thank you for this platform, this opportunity to encourage folks across our city. The best is yet to come. And Father, we just ask this afternoon that you would encourage your listeners, those that are viewing, not just encourage, Father, but that we would be proactive in the steps with the information that we have gotten that has trickled down, that we would be cognizant of all of those things with social distancing, but also resources. Father, we pray for an abundance of resources, and we claim the healing in our communities and our land, and we pray for those that have been elected and those that have stepped in to lead our communities, Father, that we would do it in love and humility. And we just thank you. We thank you because there's always a love thing. In your Master's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. There have been a lot of conversations. Am I to speak right now, Sister Terry?
Yes, please. Go right ahead.
Okay.
We're honored to have our Assemblyman, Reverend Al Taylor, to give us, which is married together, the spiritual perspective with the political perspective of what exactly is happening. Because one of our concerns is what is happening to our deceased, that they're being put in plastic bags, they're being put in Potter's Field, and that is unacceptable to us. So that's something we can get, we can share what's happening in the hospitals and how we're feeling. Thank you.
Okay, well, certainly, listen, I will share as much as I know, and I'll be more than happy to report back if there's some questions I can't answer. There are a number of things that are happening. I raised the question not too long ago. I just want to say maybe 2 weeks ago, we're on a conference call, and I just want to acknowledge Assemblywoman Inez Dickens, and a few others. We've been on these marathon of calls, and one of the conversations, my concern from a clergy perspective, humanitarian perspective, what is happening to our loved ones that are dying alone. Some folks honestly have been reaching out to members of the family to kind of bridge that relationship because there's no one in the room with them, and they've made calls, they've done video chats, and that's good. But one of the things that really stands out, and this was brought to my attention by Cordell Clear, a family here in Harlem lost their adult son, and they were unable to view the body. And then when they contacted the funeral home, they were told that they couldn't see the body either. So we had intervention by the governor's office, and here's what's happening just by way of final arrangement. Some funeral homes are only doing direct burial and direct cremation, which means we will pick up your loved one from the morgue, we will take them directly to the crematory, or we'll take them directly, we'll put them in a box and we'll take them directly to the cemetery. The problem is they can't do that fast enough, right? I was at a funeral director Friday with a member of my church because we've lost 2 members in my church, and the earliest cremation would be in May. So what's happening is the morgues in the churches, the morgues in the hospitals are at limited capacity, and if you're not removing your loved one and making some types of arrangements, after about 10 days, they're boxing them and they're putting them in Hart's Island, and they're supposed to be having a system that you can retrieve. But my concerns that I've raised are, and I just want to stay on this for a second, how do I retrieve my loved one? What are the costs associated with that? And how do I know that I have my loved one? And so on a conference call with the congressman and a few other electeds, that was raised in terms of humanitarian services. Is there clergy? Are there imams? Who's available in these spaces in the hospitals during those waning hours, not only for those that are sick, but those who have who are doing the laboring in these hospitals? How are we ministering to them? How are we doing the wellness for them as well? So that answer hasn't come back to me with respect to how do you go back and retrieve your loved one and have them have them unearthed and buried somewhere else. I have not found that succinctly. I've heard bits and pieces. I'm waiting for that to show up in writing so that we can put that out there. And 2, also let people know there are funeral homes in Harlem that will give you a funeral, your loved one a funeral based on social distancing. And there are those that will only do direct burying and direct cremation. So we need to understand which one is which. And if there's anything I can do, my office is available to just help migrate and or consider doing crematories outside of the city, because New York City is inundated. They are slammed with the number of bodies. And I saw those, I call it a backhoe, with those multiple coffins putting in, and I'm just like, this is incredible. To see something like this reminds me of a war or something I saw in a movie clip 40, 50 years ago, where we're being buried like just discarded. And the number of folks that are impacted, no surprise to us, that we are catching it because, and I did a presser with the congressman just the other day. What happens is we're 2 and 3 generations deep, Black and brown. Historically, you have a grandmother, a child, and you have the parents. So you 3 generations in there. And if that child is going to school, that parent is somewhere working. When they come home, any one of them that get infected, they come back home to the same place. So we've been fighting to get the city and the state to make sure there are places where somebody that tests positive does not have to go back into the house where there are multiple family members and expose them. Testing has been slow to come to Harlem and the Heights, but they are now supposed to open up one in the Heights. I think Harlem opens up this week. There's a site, and we have been pushing for a drive-through at on the campus of City College. So there's a constant push by some of the electeds, not all the electeds, to actually say we need more testing and we need to make sure that it's in abundance, not just one, because we're carrying the brunt of those that are most impacted. And then I'll stop talking.
Okay. Thank you very much. I know that there are people here in our prayer meeting that have some questions and some concerns. Imam, I am going to go to you. This is very vital information that we have received. And this is why Harlem Network News is important. Go to our website. Please list in our website our Harlem Angels that have gone too soon. Donate so that we can keep this work going. But just in these few minutes with our Assemblyman speaking, we've gotten some information that we haven't seen. And the question is, as a community, how can we come together to make sure that we are receiving the proper treatment that we deserve and we demand? Iman,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate this opportunity. I work in the healthcare system, and we do provide counseling for our first responders, but especially the family members who are not able to reach their loved ones. Isn't a tragedy that's going on here? We've had this discussion back in the 80s with the AIDS epidemic. Now we're having the same type of discussion, and nothing have changed. Our politicians need to get on the front line of this one, because we have an opportunity to make some very, very great changes for our community as African Americans. We've always been those ones that have been left at the end of this process. While we want to do testing in other communities like Staten Island, they've tested almost everyone in Staten Island. But in Harlem, where we have, and in some parts of Brooklyn, and in Chicago and other parts of the country, we haven't had any testing for our people in those neighborhoods. And we know that many of them live in clusters sometimes. We have to have 3 or 4 and 5 and 10 families in one home sometimes. But the idea is this: we do our best. Check with your loved ones who are hospitalized. This is important now, because if you cannot speak to the person, which they will not allow you to do because they say HIPAA law says this. HIPAA now is out of the window. This process has to change. We have to think outside of the box and inside of the box. Our people need to know where our loved ones are. I'm going to a funeral tomorrow morning. I went to one this morning. I'm doing all these funerals because these people have to be distant, but they need to know where their loved ones are. And most of us doesn't have the funding to have funerals, because funeral homes have to charge you. Grave diggers have to charge you. But the process should be that we should make sure we know where our families are. If they're coming to our houses and taking our grandmothers and our uncles and our aunts and people to the hospital, we need to have someone to go with them. They say, oh, you can't come in. But you need to be there to give them the proper information, to get the proper information, and who to contact at the time that you need to know what's going on, which means then you need to have information of who is the nurse manager of those floors they're on. Who are the doctors, those first responding doctors that they're dealing with? Who are the people that we need to contact to keep information about what is happening with them in the healthcare system? We've had this already. We've discussed this. I had a couple of people already from the community who've been into the hospital system and no one knew where they were. And then we have to just go in and try to figure out, where are my uncle, where are my cousins? And
So,
then we have a big pushback.
Yeah.
Now, say for instance, I'm gonna tell you something that's very important.
Thank
You know, this is important what I'm trying to give you now. Just hold on for a second here. You know, they give us all these bills after these issues. They send us these high bills. Avalanche, fire department, they still are sending out bills from this COVID illness. And they expect us to pay those bills. I say that do not pay those bills. And that's why our politicians need to get on top of these things that's happening to the African American community. And, you know, we keep always pushing in the Latino community and other people. Our people doesn't travel over the world. We are right here in Harlem. But we have seemed like we are neglected in those systems. In a few minutes, we're going to find out that those ventilators is going to be given to priority people, and we'll be the last one to get if we doesn't speak on these issues now and get it out of in front of what politicians are saying, what the physicians are saying. Our families need to know what's going on with their loved ones. This is our life.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Iman. And what you were saying is very critical, it's very valuable, and it's very important, and it's something that really has not been addressed, and we have to. Assemblyman Reverend Al Taylor, are you still here with us?
Yes, I am still here.
Okay, so if you could just share, like, we only have about 5 to 7 minutes left, but what has been raised here and the fact that you and our congressman and all of the leaders have been having a lot of phone calls, but we would love to have you all come back onto Harlem Network News and have a forum, because this is a critical thing that we're dealing with. So if you could address it, how we as the community, we're your constituents, how can we get behind you? What is necessary? What do we need to do to make a change?
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Terry, for the platform. I want to thank my brother Iman. Yeah, there are some serious things out there, and I do agree that our electors need to be on the front, and we are pushing hard. A lot of stuff, I wasn't here 50 years ago, but what we're getting and what we were getting off the CDC initially, what was happening, the only thing that wasn't a surprise to me was that they said that Black and brown folks were catching it more than anybody. We've always caught it more than anybody else. Why? Because of the fact that we've been marginalized. We haven't gotten everything. I get it. I got it. But when we say Black folks, I'm talking about Black and Hispanic, because I represent the state of New York and every resident in here. I don't do districts. Well, that's not mine. I will serve wherever the need is to serve, but we cannot forget about our brown and Black brothers and sisters, because we're in this stew collectively together. Harlem is divided into 3 elected officials. There's Inez, there's Al Taylor, and then there's Brian Benjamin. But we can't, this is not the time to say which group over the other. We're all catching it equally. This death is coming from this disease, and we're all there. I would definitely come back and have the platform, a week on this platform, and have a conversation and see if I can get some of our other colleagues. I can't speak for them, but I will certainly come back. But also to your listeners, if you want to email to you what's there and their concerns, so we can answer in real time. One of the things that I'm dealing with, and we're constantly dealing with, to your point, is how do you bring comfort to those that are dying? How do you bring comfort to those that are grieving? And how do we also make sure that on the living side, making sure people are getting the benefits, either small business benefits that they need and the money that's available? And how do you address the bills that are mounting? How do you get your unemployment? So those are real things, coupled with the fact that seniors are not getting food. I was fighting with the mayor's people about why there are so many people that were missing their meals as part of from the Department of Aging. So there are multiple things happening, and we're trying to do them simultaneously. And it's really hard to say, well, what's more important than the other? I don't think there are any priorities other than the well-being of our community and coming back vibrantly and making sure also that we're going to be able to survive after this is over, being able to pay our rent, going back and getting jobs, unemployment. So all of those things go into this one thing. It's not one or, but it's all of them simultaneously that's going to provide wholeness and wellness to our community. And I'm in it for the long haul. I grew up, I'm Harlem through and through, and I want to not only do this for these folks, but for my grandchildren that are going to come along. What's going to be left after this is over? Because we know we've lost and we've experienced what happened in the crack epidemic. And neighborhoods were turned upside down. And there are a lot of things that are going to happen on the backdrop that we're not even talking about today because we're working in the now. And I would conclude by saying I didn't realize how much of an impact this was going to happen. When we were arguing for $40 million to be put aside out of the budget a little more than a month ago, because we wanted to make sure there were resources available. And at that time, there was only one person tested in Harlem, in the state of New York that they knew of, which was Rockland County, I think, in Westchester. So we didn't see this. I didn't see it. And it just started to just come down like an avalanche. But we cannot turn our backs on those that are most vulnerable, and also the resources that's necessary for parents that are homeschooling these devices. There is a myriad of information that we got to get out of there and work simultaneously. And Sister Terry and your team, with your help, we can do this. And I welcome an opportunity to come back and finish, but also email, make calls, or whatever you need. I can throw my office number out there,
Yes.
212-234-1430.
Say it again, please. Thank you.
212-234-1430.
Okay.
And I can give my email if you like.
Thank you. Yes.
The email is taylora@nyassembly.gov. taylora@nyassembly.gov. And my staff is working remotely. If you call in, we'll return your call. If you email, we'll answer the email or direct you where it needs to go. There are a lot of things. If there are people with food insecurities, we need to know. If there are people that are having problems with their Social Security and or their stimulus money or their unemployment, talk to us. That's what we're trying to do. But this is a team sport. Everybody's got to pitch in.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say is this. A lot of our senior citizens are being let out of the hospitals, and they're not given any instructions on how to take care of themselves when they get home. Most of those drivers who bring them home does not want to bring them home. And we have to go pick them up and bring them home. And they are getting paid. They are contracted people that should be taking care of those people, getting them home and getting them instructions on how to use those tanks that they're giving them, how to be able to take care of themselves when they get home. But we're having a hard time getting that information from our local hospital systems. And we need to get on the front of that, because then that's another problem. Then in the long run, they're going to end up dying from COVID because they don't know how to take care of themselves.
Okay, so
if you can email, if you can talk particulars.
Go ahead. Reverend Al, are you still with us? Go right ahead.
Yes, ma'am. I was saying to Iman, I didn't catch the name. I apologize. But if he would email that to me, I would love to try to be of assistance, because this is the first. Now, one of the things I mentioned earlier is we're trying to identify in the mayor, the mayor and the governor has agreed to provide hotel lodging for people that test positive, because a lot of people are coming home. Some of them are going to nursing homes, but those that are going home by themselves, I would love to know what's out there, and if we can put some light on that, I would be more than happy to follow that up, because that's the first time I've heard that seniors going into their homes by themselves.
Right, and not only that, they want to send them to rehabilitation centers. They want to send them to nursing homes, and we know that is where most of the problems are, in those places. And why can't we make sure that apartments is cleaned out and fixed up and send them home? We have some of their family members help take care of them.
Well, let's be on, let's say, for example, I represent Esplanade Gardens, and Esplanade, and I have public housing and so forth, but Esplanade Garden has about 10-15% seniors, and a lot of them live by themselves. And even before this happened, and before I became elected and working as a staffer, a lot of the elderly are home by themselves. Their children have died, or even they've moved out of the state altogether. So they were home by themselves. So the idea of getting a family member to go in there is going to be difficult. So you have to figure out what's the most pragmatic way to do this. And nursing homes may be the way. I would say let's make sure that the PPEs are there for those folks in nursing homes, and they're having the resources that they need so that they are not dying. And I think what has happened in this scenario is that people were not paying attention to the nursing homes. And I think you mentioned it earlier, they were not properly instructed, nor did they have the proper resources to do the work. And when they were informed, they weren't informed correctly. So now you have contagiousness passing around in this place. So we've got to do a better job of that as well.
Okay, so this has brought up a lot of things, and it's great that we have been able to at least bring up these conversations, because what is happening on the media and what is really happening in the Harlem community are two completely different things. We're hearing about hotels, we are hearing about stimulus packages, and I'm not sure, maybe you can look into this. We only have a few minutes, and I want to give everyone a chance to give a final word. But do we know anybody in New York City who has received their stimulus package? Because in Florida, in Pennsylvania, many people have received the package. So we need to figure out if people in New York City have gotten the $1,200 because we really don't know what's happening. We have got to possibly form a task force that addresses COVID, and we get a myriad of people together to see what are some of the issues which you have raised, many of the issues, Reverend Al Taylor, as well as Imam has raised issues. So there's the issue of the virus, being ill from it. Then there are the political factors that surround it. There are food issues. There are hotel issues. So there are many, many, many people that things need to be addressed. Okay, so I'm just going to have everyone just say a final wrap up and see where we are and what we need to do. Reverend Nafisa, is there a final word that you'd like to share?
First, thank you, Terry, and thank you all for being on this conference call with me. And I invite everyone to my morning meditation. It's live on Instagram and Facebook, and just to do our best to remain healthy and steadfast and fearless. Thank you.
Okay, and Reverend Rhonda, Akanke, McLean, Moore, are there a few words that you'd like to say? Are you with us? Unmute. We can't hear you. You've got to unmute.
I am here. I am here. I want to say thank you to you, Terry, and the Harlem Network News, and to everybody that's been on the call and all the listeners. I just want to say a quick prayer to close out what we're doing here. And I can do that at the end, or you want me to do it now?
Okay, I think it's appropriate if you do it at the end. I'm going to go to Dr. Michelle Alexander, our Harlem physician. If there are a few words.
I wanted to thank everyone on the call. Just wanted to thank the listeners for sticking in with us. And I just wanted to just mention a little thing about mental health, because whether you have been exposed directly to COVID-19 or you are just experiencing social or physical distancing, this is very unnerving, and there is a lot to unpack in many ways, because things have changed so drastically from, as the representative Assemblyman Al Taylor said, just less than a month ago, we were in quite a different situation. So I just say prayer changes things. And so I would encourage people to meditate, pray, to exercise, to eat well, and to stay well and stay home.
Thank you. Imam Yusef Hasaan.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for allowing me to be a part of this process and let you know I'm just, everyone thinks about their own culture. We love everybody and we support everybody, but we have to also remember that our people, African Americans, need to be cared for as well. And we need to speak up on their behalf some kind of way to make sure this process gets done. I love them all. They're my friends and my people, but our people is more important to me at this particular point because of what we've been, where we are, and be the will of God, we'll get to the right place all together in good spirits.
Okay, thank you. And Reverend Al Taylor, Assemblyman, what my request is to you is that next week, if you can organize the public officials, we would love to have them on so that they can speak and let us know what some of the issues or concerns are. And through this Harlem Network News, we are going to do what we can to organize community members so that we know what the issues are and that we can get behind you and make some demands. We also are appealing to and requesting and demanding that the major networks, be they national or be they local, that they have some of us, some of the real people from Harlem that are on as correspondents that can actually speak for the people. That's very, very critical, that an imam be on, or a Reverend Al Taylor be on, or a Dr. Michelle as an expert be on, because we need to have our voices be part of the conversation, so that if there are monies or hotels, and at this point in time, given the fact that we're the hardest hit and we have economic deprivation, I mean, the government should be organizing to pay for these funerals. Nobody should be trying to figure out what's going to happen. And we also are just saying we need some kind of memorial or something erected for our people, because the Potter's Field is unacceptable. So Reverend Al, we're going to come to you. Reverend Al Taylor, we're going to come to you quickly. If you can give your information again, and we will speak after the call, so we can get together our officials and get them on a conference and meeting so that things can happen and people can ask some questions and see how that they can help. Okay, Reverend.
Well, absolutely. Thank you all. Thank you for allowing me an opportunity to share on this platform. And I will say this, and I say it earnestly: faith without works is dead. This is on the groundwork that we all going to have to double down and do a little bit more, that we're always accustomed to doing it. That's not to say that the electors won't. And I will do everything within my power for me to be back on this space next week. If it's at the same time, I'll try to coordinate that. But far be it from me to be able to tell you, Sister Terry, that I'll have all the other electors. I would say that with all due diligence, reach out to them and see, and you can tell them that I've agreed to join, but I don't want to get in a position of supposing I can deliver when I can't. But I will certainly amen whatever you communicate to them to have a voice on this space. At the end of the day, there is a lot of work that needs to be done, a lot of work. I think we probably gave around 400 meals last week in 3 days, meals that were donated, knocking on doors. And this kind of like a wellness check. You get meals and you understand how people are doing. They are elated. These are your seniors and mostly homebound. And I will continue to do that wherever their meals coming from. If people don't know, NAN is providing hot and cold meals as well. And there are a few other different places. But if you contact my office for food insecurities, then that number is 212-234-1430. 212-234-1430. Or my email would be taylora@nyassembly.gov. taylora@nyassembly.gov. nyassembly.gov. And at the end of the day, if there are things that we can help you with, you can also call 311, and we'll do our best. I have 4 or 5 staff members. My chief of staff, her father's on a ventilator right now. She's still responding to the calls. And I've lost 12 friends in this, 2 members from my church, 2 neighbors on my floor, a mother and son. So it's real. And there's a lot of work to do. And I think more hands to the plow will make it go a lot smoother. So again, Sister Terry and all, thank you all for allowing me an opportunity to share on this platform. And I'm Harlem through and through. Don't talk about it, be about it.
Okay, so I thank you very much. And once again, this is Harlem Network News. You can go to our website, which is harlemnetworknews.com, and that'll be a way that you can express your concerns. We also are asking you to send in your stories. If you don't tell us, then we don't know. We're asking you to send in the names and pictures of your loved ones, because this is a way that we can begin the process of memorializing. So as Reverend Al Taylor said, we have a lot of work to do. We're at the beginning of it, but we're standing up. On our website, we have a donate button, which can assist us in keeping these programs going. We are very grateful for those who have come on the show. We want you to join us next week at the same time. We do have Dr. Mailana Karenga, who is the creator of Kwanzaa and some of the principles for living in our community, is watching. He is going to be with us next week. So Reverend Rhonda, please pray us out. And this is a good beginning, but as you said, there's a lot of work to do. And as Reverend Nafisa Sharreeff mentioned, that this is an intense and a rough time, but it's a time for us to go in. It is a time for us to create and recreate ourselves. We are a resilient people. We have come through the Middle Passage. We have survived the 400 years that are here. So yes, we can get this done, but we've got to work collectively, and there's a lot of work to do. And work without faith, faith without work, we're here. Reverend Rhonda, thank you. And thank you all immensely for coming on this call, and Harlem and the Harlems of the world, everyone across the nation, across the world. This is Harlem, Harlem Lives, and we are trying to let you know what is going on here. If you can assist, please do. As you can see, the need is great and it's dire, and we will survive. Thank you. Reverend Rhonda.
We're going to ask you to speak to that and to who you speak to go to your higher self, to the higher source. Father God, creator, divine source, Oludumare, Allah, in the name of Jesus, in the name of your prophets, Buddha, in all the names you are called by, Yahweh, Jah, Jahira. We thank you for your awesomeness. We thank you for the sun and the moon still shining in the midst of all of this, that the stars are still out and the flowers are still blooming. We thank you for our lives and our health today, that you allowed us to be in the living on this realm this day. We thank you for all of the hospital workers and the clergy, the chaplains, the truck drivers, the food workers, the sanitation workers. We thank you for everybody that is involved in keeping us going in the midst of this. None of us knew this was coming. None of us knew or have been in a situation like this before. So we're all learning, and we all need to call upon you and ask you to be with us. Be with us. Help us to be more creative and resourceful and to work together in harmony. Go into the hospitals, and Harlem Hospital and Columbia University Hospital, Presbyterian, Mount Sinai, Lenox Hill, all the hospitals in New York, and touch those that are struggling with the COVID virus right now and those that are transitioning. We know that you can do the impossible, because I know with my own testimony that when I have prayed and called your name, that you have come and taken up what I needed you to take up. So we thank you, God. And we're asking you to go into the homes of all of these children that are being homeschooled, and the teachers, that you touch their minds and hearts, and the parents. Help them to have clear minds and not to go insane and not to have anxiety and not to get depressed during this time. We're asking you to touch all those who need to forgive somebody else today, so that their lives can be brighter and shinier. And may we all come out of this as greater, stronger, more loving, more human than we were before. We thank you, God. We're claiming the victory right now, that we will overcome and we will help to save our people and all people. These and all blessings we ask, and we give thanks for. Our peace, amen. Ashe.
Ashe.
Yes, Ashe, Ashe, Asheo. And we are thankful, we are grateful for all of you who have tuned in to this prayer meeting and prayed with us and are now aware of what some of the issues are. We must be a people of action, because aside from the illness, we have other things that are happening beyond the illness, the politics, the economics, the food desert. There's so many things. So if you were not able to tune in, or you have family that was not able to tune in, this will be on YouTube, so that you can go to Harlem Network News YouTube site. You can also go to our Facebook, and please go to our website, because that is where we have daily news every day, local news, we have world news, we have the charts and statistics that are telling you what's going on. We have information from the World Health Organization, because it is important to look at the organization, but it's important because we're global and we're the diaspora to know what the World Health Organization is doing. It impacts our brothers and sisters in Africa, India, South America, and us. But we are grateful that the problems and some of the issues have been identified. So if you're listening and you have connections or knowledge of, it's important to let's bring it all together. Let's work together collectively. I know that we can do this. And thank you for your patience. We've gone a few minutes over, but I think that the information is critical. The information is important. And we're at the beginning of this. So any assistance that can be had, we are looking for that. But this is Terry Wisdom reporting to you live from Harlem Network News. And we thank you and good night. Be safe. Follow all the protocols that need, cover your faces, wash your hands, do everything that you have been instructed to do. And there's more of that information on our website. Thank you and good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Blessings.
Welcome.
Good night. Good night.
Like I said.